Somebody contacted me recently and said that they had a Silhouette Studio file that they had printed out and they were trying to scan it through the ScanNCut machine and it wouldn't give them a cutting file. So they sent me a screenshot of it and I did the same thing. I printed it and it just wouldn't scan, and I don't know why, because on the face of it, it looked a perfectly good, clean, crisp outline. So I decided that I'd try to do a screenshot of it and see if that worked. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can take some of your Silhouette files and use the screenshot method and then create your cut files. Now, I'm not going to go into how to do a screenshot. I'll put a link in the comments box below and you can go and have a look at an article that I found on the internet showing various ways to do screenshots. I use a Mac. I know a lot of you use Windows, so there's no point in me doing a screenshot on my Mac and you can't recreate the same thing on your computer. So the easiest thing is go and read the article, make your screenshot by any means that you want to, following the article, and then follow this tutorial. Here's the file that I'm going to use, and I'm going to open it and it's going to appear on my screen. So first of all, I'm just going to delete the bits that I don't want for now. Then I'm going to come over here to my page settings and I'm going to make it a 12 by 12 page because that's the way I prefer to work. And then I don't want the grid on, so I'm going to just go to the very top of the page and go to View and untick Show Grid. And then I've got this design, which on the face of it looks perfectly straightforward. If I zoom in, I can actually see there's something not quite right here with this line. It doesn't appear to be joining up to this side here properly. But for now, we'll leave it as it is. So, I've already taken a screenshot of this and I've saved it. And what I'm also going to do is just go one step further and then you'll see what I'm talking about when we come to Inkscape in a few minutes. So this appears to be a group, so I'm going to come up to the very top of my screen and I'm going to go to Object and down to Ungroup, which isn't highlighted, so that's no good. So while I'm still under Object, or I can right click and I can go to Release Compound Path, and that breaks the design apart. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and all I'm going to do is just try and drag an imaginary box around this bottom half and move it down a little bit. And as you can see, these bits here didn't move with it, but not to worry, that's fine. I'll just undo and then I'll try and get everything again. Bring it down. I just want to separate them. That's all I'm trying to do at this moment in time. Now, while this is all selected, if I go over here to the fill bucket and try and fill this with red, you'll see the only things that fill are the windows and the door, and that's because they're complete shapes and this house shape isn't. And by that I mean, if I click on that line, you'll see just that line selects, and if I click on the house, you'll see the house selects. So there's a break here, so these are not joined. So if I just select that and use the arrows on my keyboard and take it up a little bit, so there's a gap, and then I'm going to zoom in so you can see a bit better. Now if I select the line and right click and go to edit points, I get the points on the end. And I want to join that red point to this corner and that red point to this corner. But if I then hold my shift key down, which you would think you would normally do ordinarily, and click the house, nothing happens. If I click the house and right click and click edit points, I get the endpoints of the house but not the line. So what you have to do is select the line, hold your shift key down, select the other part, in my case the house. While they're both selected, right click and choose make compound path. Now this time when I double click, I get both lots of endpoints, red nodes showing, and if I drag this top one down to there, it snaps onto there, and that one snaps onto there, and now you can instantly see that that's filled with colour. Now I'm going to drag an imaginary box around the red house and all the windows and doors, and hopefully I've got them all selected. I'm going to right click and choose make compound path, and this time it punches the windows and the door out of the shape, so that's now one complete shape. So let's go up to the roof. We'll click here and we'll see that we've only got a box round part of the design, and if we click here you can see we've got this part of the design, so this tells me there's a break in this again. On a different part of this design, and you can see this is another section and this is another section, so this tells me that this shape here has got broken lines. And again, as I said before, if you drag an imaginary box around it and go over here to your fill and choose a colour, it won't fill. The only bits that are filling are these shapes here, and that's because they're complete shapes. So I'm going to click on and just move it down a little bit. You can see it's separated now. Okay, so I'm going to select that, hold my shift key down, select the main body of the roof, right click and make compound path. And then this time when I double click, I should get the red nodes on the end of the house and the red nodes here. And I think the reason I've not got one here is because this line, if you remember, was a separate line before. So I'm just going to try and zoom in a bit more. And try and bring this into screen. Right, so I'm going to click on this red node and make it grab hold of that one. This one's got no node, so this is telling me there's something going on here again. So if I click on this, you can see that that's a separate section. So I'm going to hold the shift key down and select this and right click and make compound path, and then double click and I get red nodes so I can join them. So they join. Then I'm going to select everything, come over here and try and fill it with colour again and see what happens. It's still not filling, so that means there's a break somewhere. So click away, see if I can get any more separate parts. There you go, that's separated from this. So if I use the up arrow on the keyboard, you can see it moves away. While it's selected, I'm going to hold my shift key down and select the outside shape again. Right click, make compound path. Double click. Now you can see I've got two lots of red nodes. So I can drag this top one down and it should join there. And drag this one down and it should join there, and now it's filled in with colour because it's a complete shape, which is what we want. Just going to zoom out, going to drag an imaginary box around everything. So if you remember, I've got squares under there as well. While hopefully I've got everything selected, I'm going to right click and choose make compound path, And there you go, that's cut those shapes out. So that's now one shape. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take a screenshot of that. So I'll do that and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've opened Inkscape and I've got my two silhouette screenshots saved on my desktop. I've got the outline and the one that we filled. So I'm going to go to File, Import, go to my desktop and find my files. So there's the first one, the outline, and there's the one we filled in with colour. So I'm going to open the outline one first and say OK. And there's the file. I'm not going to touch it, I'm not going to alter the size or anything, and it's just my screenshot image. I'm going to go to Path, Trace Bitmap, and then I'm going to click on Update because I want to see a preview, and there's nothing really there. And you're going to have to play with either the brightness cutoff or the edge detection to see which one gives you the best outline. So we'll try edge detection first, and we'll go Update and see what we get. And it looks a bit pixelated, but we'll see what happens. We'll take it down to about 450 and we'll click Update again and see if it looks any different, and it doesn't, quite frankly. We'll go to brightness cutout and we'll try Update, and then we'll take the numbers up and see what we get. Not a lot. So we'll go back to edge detection, click on Update and see what we get. Might just take this up a bit more, 490, 500, Update and see what happens. Doesn't look a lot different, so we'll say OK, and then we'll close that bit down, and then we'll drag this over. So that's our screenshot, and this is our vector cutting file, if you like. But before I do anything, I'm going to import the other one. So I'm going to go to File, Import, find the one that we filled, and click Open and OK. And there it is. I'm going to put it over here on the left. Then again, I'm not going to resize it or do anything to it. I'm going to go to Path, Trace Bitmap. I'm going to use exactly the same option we just used on the outline. So edge detection, I'm going to leave it at 500. I'm not touching anything. I'm just going to click Update and see what we get. And then I'm going to say OK and close that down. And then drag, put the image back over there. And put the outline underneath. Okay, now I'm going to go to View, Display, and you can see we're in normal view at the moment, and that's why you're seeing the screenshots in colour on screen. Going to go to Outline. They disappear because they're an image. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on these two. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this up here so it's side by side. And then zoom in to make it bigger. Just so you can see the difference. So now when you look at these two files, this one has got double lines all over the place and things going on. And so has this one, but the lines are cleaner than this one. We just took a screenshot and we left it as it was, as an outline, with its broken line and everything in silhouette. And this one is the one that we filled in with colour, and you can see it's a crisper outline. Now obviously you still couldn't cut this because you've got double lines going on. So you could go Path, Break Apart, and then you could drag the outside edges away, and then you could hold your shift key down and select all these little bits and drag them over, which would give you a good cutting file. Or we can go back to View, Display, Normal. We'll get rid of this and this, and we'll go back to this image and we'll go Path, Trace Bitmap again, and this time we'll try Brightness Cutoff and Update and see what we get. We get a nice filled in image, and we'll say OK, close that down, drag one from the other. We know this is the screenshot because it's red. That was our original one. This one is the vector outline. We'll go to View, Display, Outline, and you can see on this one now we've got a nice single outline. So you're going to have to play with your screenshots to get yourself a nice crisp line, but it can be done. Now I'm going to get rid of that image because I don't need it. Hit delete, select that, hit delete, don't want that one, hit delete, and get rid of all this. And hit delete. And then I'm going to bring this one back up here, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more to make it a bit bigger. Okay, so we're still in, I'm going to go to, still in outline, so I'm going to go to normal view. Down here we've got a fill, and we've got nothing on stroke, so I'm going to right click and make the stroke black. I'm going to select it all, I'm going to go Path, Break Apart, click anywhere on my page to deselect. I'm going to drag an imaginary box just around the top half, so I get the outline and these inner bits, and I'm going to go to Path, Combine, and then I'm going to do the same on this bit, to select all these bits again and go Path, Combine. And if you don't do that step, when you open this in Canvas, these will all be in bits. So it's easier to do it here. And then I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to call it Toadstool SVG, save it on my desktop. Minimise this down out of the way, and I'm going to open Canvas, and I'll be back in a minute. In Canvas, and I'm going to open the Inkscape cutting file that I just made and saved on the desktop. And here it is. I'm just going to drag it into the middle and just zoom in a little bit. So there's my file, my top and my bottom. Now obviously what I can do, I'm going to change the colour of this one, just so you can see it better on the screen. I'm going to bring this over. I can select both, make them a group, then I could put an outset line round the outside. Going to line those up, and then I'm going to weld them. Going to change the colour just so you can see it on the screen better, and then obviously I'll bring this to the front. And then I could make a mat for it if I wanted to and layer it up like that. But really, I just wanted to show you that there's an alternative way to making a cut file from your Silhouette Studio software. So this file started off here as a GSD file, which is an old Craft Robo file I made in 2006. So 8 years ago. we took a screenshot of it. You can't see it too clever here on the screen, but we took a screenshot of it and made an outline. And then we also did an alternative by joining up all the nodes and filling it in with colour and doing a screenshot, and then created here our SVG cutting file. And then obviously you can go ahead and you can cut this now in your canvas. But somebody contacted me through one of the Facebook groups and was having problems cutting fabric. And she tried and tried and tried for days, and she'd tried all different settings and cuttings and fabric and all sorts of things, and could not get the file to cut. And she'd made the cut file from an embroidery file by printing it and scanning it. In the end, I asked her to send me the file. I opened the embroidery file and I used Embrilliance Essentials, and I made a cut file from it, and I put some calico with some heat and bond on the back, put it onto my mat, and it cut perfectly. And I did her a step-by-step in pictures showing her what I'd done and how it had cut. And we couldn't understand it. We just couldn't understand it at all. And I told her to try my settings, and she still couldn't get it to work. I sent her my cutting file that I'd made in Embrilliance Essentials, and it cut perfectly. And we think what was happening, because she didn't have software to create the cut file like I did with Embrilliance, so she basically printed her print lines, as I've shown you in a previous video, from her embroidery file, made it a cut file and was trying to cut it, and her machine was going over areas several times, and that was causing the fabric to bunch up and ruck up. When I made the file in Embrilliance and I had a perfectly clean outline like we've got on this one here, it cut fine, and she was able to cut my same cutting file with her fabric on her machine with her mats, and it was perfect. So what I'm trying to say is that you've got to investigate your cutting files. If you're cutting files and you're not getting good cuts, it's not necessarily the machine or the blade or the fact that you've got something maybe ironed onto the back if it's fabric, or in, you know, if it's paper, if it's not cutting right, if it's pulling the paper or tearing the paper. You know, it's not always a case of the blade setting or the pressure setting. It's what the file is to start with. If I'd have just used this screenshot here and tried to cut this file, I know I would have got a completely different result than using this one here that I tidied up and filled in and then converted. So I hope you found that helpful. It's just an alternative method for utilising any of your previously made designs by using this screenshot method. But as I say, you have to be mindful that you have to investigate the cut file and tidy it up, and give the machine, give your ScanNCut machine the best possible chance to give you the best possible result. So I'll see you in the next video. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.